In the vast expanse of the cosmos, where the boundaries between star systems are marked not by borders, but by the reach of ambition, the Garnaic Empire once considered themselves unchallenged. Their reputation preceded them, an empire forged in fire and conquest, known for their ruthless efficiency and their willingness to dominate any civilization that dared stand in their way. Their fleets, vast and imposing, cut through the darkness of space with the confidence of a people who had never truly faced defeat. Their eyes turned toward the outlying worlds of the Earth Alliance, viewing these territories as ripe for the taking, their inhabitants as little more than spoils of war. The Garnaic assault was swift and merciless. Under the cover of darkness, their ships descended upon Alliance outposts and space stations, overwhelming local defenses with superior numbers and firepower. The Garnaic soldiers, notorious for their brutality, pillaged and plundered without restraint. They inflicted unspeakable horrors upon the civilian population, torturing, disrespecting, and sexually assaulting those who fell into their grasp. For a time, chaos reigned, and the cries of the innocent echoed through the corridors of space. The Garnaic Empire believed they had asserted their dominance, that the Earth Alliance would soon crumble under the weight of their fury. But empires, no matter how powerful, are sometimes blinded by their own hubris. The Garnaic leaders underestimated the resolve of those they sought to dominate. They failed to grasp the spirit that animated the worlds of the Earth Alliance, a spirit forged in unity, resilience, and the unbreakable bonds of shared destiny. And, most critically of all, they failed to account for the Earth Alliance Space Marines. The arrival of the Space Marines was not heralded by pomp or spectacle. They came silently at first, like a thief in the night, slipping behind enemy lines and gathering intelligence with surgical precision. Where the Garnaic Empire had relied on brute strength and terror, the Space Marines employed strategy, discipline, and a deep understanding of the terrain and people they sought to protect. Their movements were ghost-like, their presence undetectable until it was far too late for the occupying forces. In the weeks following the initial attacks, reports began to circulate among the Garnaic ranks. Patrols would vanish without a trace. Supply depots would be discovered sabotaged, with critical resources rendered useless. Communications were intercepted, sowing confusion and distrust among the invaders. The Garnaic commanders, once so sure of their superiority, began to sense an invisible threat closing in around them. Fear began to take root where arrogance had blossomed. Then, as suddenly as they had appeared, the Earth Alliance Space Marines struck with the fury of a raging lion. Their assault was relentless and coordinated, a masterclass in tactical warfare. They reclaimed lost territory with astonishing speed, liberating space stations and outposts one after another. The Garnaic soldiers, so used to being the predators, found themselves hunted, their every movement anticipated and countered. The Space Marines fought not only with physical might, but with an unwavering sense of justice and purpose. They rescued the oppressed, tended to the wounded, and restored hope to those who had suffered under Garnaic tyranny. For the Garnaic Empire, the tables had turned. Their forces, once invincible, were now beset on all sides by an enemy they could neither see nor understand. Retreat became the only viable option, but escape routes were systematically cut off by the Space Marines' relentless advance. Garnaic commanders, who had once issued orders with impunity, now begged for mercy, their forces decimated and their spirit broken. As the dust settled and the last pockets of Garnaic resistance were crushed, the true scope of the Empire's atrocities came to light. The Earth Alliance, steadfast in its commitment to justice, wasted no time in gathering evidence and building cases against the perpetrators. International tribunals were convened, and Garnaic officials were called to account for their war crimes and civil violations. The world watched as the architects of terror were brought before the bar of justice, forced to answer for the suffering they had inflicted. Yet, for the people of the Earth Alliance, the victory was not merely one of arms and tactics. It was a testament to their shared values and the indomitable will to protect the innocent. It was a reminder to all who would threaten the peace of the galaxy that the Earth Alliance was not to be trifled with. Their strength did not lie solely in their military prowess, but in their unity, their unwavering commitment to justice, and their refusal to allow evil to flourish unchecked. In the aftermath of the conflict, the Alliance set about the work of rebuilding. The scars of war ran deep, but so too did the resolve to see justice done and peace restored. Space Marines, once the vanguard of liberation, now became the guardians of reconstruction, working alongside local populations to heal the wounds of occupation. They brought not only order but compassion, offering support and reassurance to those who had suffered most. The story of the Garnaic Empire's defeat became legend, a cautionary tale for would-be conquerors and a source of pride for the citizens of the Alliance. It was retold in countless forms, in the quiet recollections of survivors, in the boisterous tales of veterans, and in the solemn proceedings of the courts where justice was dispensed. Each retelling served as a reminder of the price of arrogance and the power of unity. For the Garnaic Empire, the consequences were profound and far-reaching. The loss of their fleet and the exposure of their crimes shattered the illusion of invincibility that had fueled their expansion. Within their own borders, dissent grew as citizens questioned the wisdom of their leaders and the morality of their actions. Once feared throughout the galaxy, the Garnaic Empire now found itself isolated, its influence diminished and its future uncertain. Meanwhile, the Earth Alliance emerged stronger than ever. The courage and determination of the Space Marines had inspired a new sense of solidarity among the member worlds. Alliances were strengthened, old grievances set aside in the face of a common threat. The scars of war remained, but they served as a reminder of what could be achieved when people stood together in defense of what was right. In the years that followed, the Alliance continued to uphold the principles that had guided them through the darkest days of the conflict. They invested in diplomacy and dialogue, working to build bridges with former adversaries and prevent the cycle of violence from repeating. Yet, they never forgot the lessons of the Garnaic War. The Space Marines remained vigilant, ever ready to answer the call should tyranny once again rear its head. And so, the legend of the Earth Alliance Space Marines endured, a symbol of hope for the oppressed and a warning to those who would seek to dominate through fear. Their story was one of courage, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bonds of brotherhood and sisterhood forged in the crucible of war. It was a testament to the enduring truth that, in the face of evil, good people would always rise to defend the innocent, no matter the cost. As the stars wheeled overhead and the galaxy moved inexorably forward, the memory of the Garnaic Empire's folly and the Alliance's triumph served as a beacon, a light in the darkness, guiding future generations toward a better, more just universe. The legacy of the Space Marines lived on, not only in the annals of history, but in the hearts and minds of all who cherished freedom and dignity. For the Garnaic Empire, defeat was not merely a loss of territory or power. It was a reckoning, a moment of truth that forced them to confront the consequences of their actions. The trials that followed were not only about justice for the victims, but about the possibility of redemption for the perpetrators. Some Garnaic leaders, faced with the evidence of their crimes, expressed remorse and a desire to make amends. Others clung stubbornly to their old ways, refusing to accept responsibility for the suffering they had caused. The Earth Alliance, for its part, approached the trials with a sense of solemn duty. They understood that true justice required more than retribution. It required understanding, compassion, and a commitment to building a better future. Restorative justice programs were established, allowing victims and perpetrators to confront one another and seek reconciliation. Reparations were paid, and efforts were made to ensure that the horrors of the past would not be repeated. Through it all, the Space Marines remained a constant presence. They served as both protectors and ambassadors, helping to bridge the divide between former enemies and foster a spirit of cooperation. Their example inspired others to lay down their arms and work toward peace, reminding all that strength could be tempered with mercy and that even the deepest wounds could heal with time. In the end, the legacy of the Garnaiac War was not one of bitterness or revenge, but of hope and renewal. The galaxy had been forever changed by the conflict, but it emerged stronger, wiser, and more united. The Earth Alliance, once underestimated by its enemies, had proven itself a force to be reckoned with, not through might alone, but through the power of its ideals and the courage of its people. As the years passed, the memory of the war faded, but its lessons endured. The Space Marines continued to serve as the guardians of peace, ever vigilant against the forces of tyranny and oppression. Their story was told and retold, a source of inspiration for generations to come. And somewhere, among the stars, there remained a quiet promise that so long as the Earth Alliance stood, the innocent would never stand alone. The Space Marines would always be there, silent, watchful, and ready to strike like a lion when darkness threatened to consume the light. In this way, the galaxy found a measure of peace, and the legacy of the Garnaiac Empire became a distant memory, a cautionary tale for those who would seek power at the expense of others. The Earth Alliance endured, its people united by the trials they had overcome, and the knowledge that, together, they could face any challenge the universe might bring. And so the story continues, written not in the annals of history, but in the hearts of all who strive for justice, peace, and a better tomorrow. The Earth Alliance and their Space Marines have proven themselves worthy,